Sherlock Holmes, a famous bohemian scientist and eccentric detective for hire in London, who becomes a wanted fugitive in his hunt for Lord Blackwood while constantly being followed by the presence of Professor Moriarty. Dr. John Watson, Holmes' companion and close friend who is also a surgeon and a veteran of the Second Afghan War. Irene Adler, a former adversary and lover who asks him to find a missing man named Luke Riordan. Directed by Guy Ritchie.
Will end. Well, there isn't any time to waste then, is there? It does make a considerable difference to me having someone with me on whom I can thoroughly rely. It was nice to see you, Watson.
Lord Blackwood.
The witness stated that he saw Lord Blackwood rise from the grave.
Going to raise a force that will alter the course of the world.
He's just as brilliant as you are, and infinitely more devious.
We'll see about that.
Nice touch.
I was simply studying your methods. Should the authorities ask me to hunt you down?
Holmes, leave the case alone.
Case for you. Save your bullets, Watson.
What was that about saving bullets?
First point of attack, right ear. 2, throat. 3, cracked ribs. In summary, neutralized. You've never complained about my methods before?
I never complain. When do I complain about you practicing the violin at 3 in the morning? Your general lack of hygiene or your experiment on my dog?
Just killed a dog. Again.
I wanted to change the world, but I'll settle for ending yours.
I wish you would.
The short background of the story is all about a famous detective Sherlock Holmes in 1890. London, private detective Sherlock Holmes and his partner Dr. John Watson prevent the ritualistic murder of a woman by Lord Henry Blackwood, who has killed 5 other young women similarly. Inspector Lestrade and the police arrest Blackwood. 3 months later, Watson is engaged to Mary Morstan and moving out of 221B Baker Street. While he enjoys their adventures together, Watson looks forward to not having to deal with Holmes' eccentricities. Meanwhile, Blackwood has been sentenced to death and requests to see Holmes, whom he warns of 3 more unstoppable deaths that will cause great changes to the world. Blackwood is subsequently hanged. Meanwhile, sightings of a living Blackwood and the discovery of his destroyed tomb lead to belief that Blackwood has risen from the grave. Riordan is found dead inside Blackwood's coffin. Following a series of clues from the body, Holmes and Watson find Riordan's home and discover experiments attempting to merge science with magic. Holmes escapes and he, Watson, and Adler find Blackwood's men in the sewers guarding a device based on Riordan's experiments, designed to release cyanide gas into the Parliament chambers and kill all but Blackwood's supporters, whom he has secretly given an antidote. Blackwood comes before Parliament and announces their impending deaths, then attempts to activate the cyanide device by remote control, but it is disabled by Adler. Blackwood flees Parliament and sees Adler and Holmes in the sewers and pursues them to the top of the incomplete Tower Bridge. Blackwood fights Holmes as the latter deduces how all of Blackwood's supposed supernatural feats were the work of science and trickery. Blackwood plummets off the bridge and falls entangled in a noose of chains, killing him when the chain wrapped around his neck hangs him.
Yet it burned with an unusual pinkish hue. Did Standish mistake it for rain as he entered the temple? All it took was a spark. A simple rigged bullet in his gun. Ingenious. Like all great performers who saved your pièce de résistance for the end. A chemical weapon distilled from cyanide and refined in the bellies of swine. Had it worked, your followers in Parliament would have watched unharmed as their colleagues were dying around them. They didn't know that you'd given them the antidote. Instead, they would have believed it was magic and that you'd harnessed the ultimate power. And the world would have followed, fear being the most powerful weapon of all. You'd better hope that it's nothing more than superstition, as you performed all the rituals perfectly.
The devil's due a soul, I'd say.
For God's Wait, Holmes! Cut me loose! First, the world will see you for what you are. A fraud. Then you'll be hanged. Properly this time.
It's a long journey from here to the rope.
Rob a bank. On the count of 3, you will be teleported through space and time.
To your bank in Paris. 1, 2,
3.
Thank you, everyone. We are the Four Horsemen.
And good
night. FBI, hands where I can see them. I don't think I heard you correctly. Did you say magicians robbed the bank?
You have what we in the business like to call nothing up your sleeve. Because if you did, it means that you actually believe in magic.
And then that.
First rule of magic, always be the smartest guy in the room.
1, 2, 3, and... You want to know how they did it? Just say the magic word.
This story is about 4 stage magicians are each given a tarot card that leads them to the same empty New York City apartment where they find information from an unknown benefactor. A year later, the 4 have their first major performance as the Four Horsemen in an elaborate Las Vegas show funded by insurance magnate Arthur Tressler Michael Caine. Their final trick appears to transport one of the audience members to the vault of his bank, the Credit Republicain in Paris, where stacks of new euro bills are stored. At the magician's command, the fans in the vault activate, drawing the bills into the vents and then showering the Las Vegas crowd with them. The euros are shown to be real, and the vault in Paris is found to be empty of its recent shipment of euros. FBI agent Dylan Rhodes. Dylan, Alma, and Thaddeus follow the Horsemen to their next show in New Orleans. Their final trick appears to transfer over $140 million from Tressler's private accounts to those in the audience, made up of people that were denied insurance claims by Tressler's company in the wake of Hurricane Katrina. Dylan and Alma attempt to apprehend the 4, but the magicians elude arrest. Tressler hires Thaddeus to expose the Horsemen. In revenge for the loss of his money, Alma investigates the Horsemen and determines they are connected to a group called the Eye, a small group of magicians that claim to have access to real magic and only accept the best of the best magicians, who have to be invited and pass tests. She finds out that one of the Eye's members, Lionel Shrike, had previously been exposed by Thaddeus, but died in a locked safe escape trick he was performing in an attempt to regain his standing. Alma suspects a 5th person is aiding the Horsemen. The Horsemen make sure that the criminal are the insurance company of Tressler and amaze their audience by their magic tricks with the help of illusion and science and technology.
Your houses, your cars, your businesses, your loved ones. But all of you were insured by the same company.
Tressler Insurance.
You were abandoned.
You are loopholes.
Out of your settlements. This is all for show, correct?
Oh, I mean, we're doing it on stage in front of a paying audience? Then yes, it's for show.
I've got $82,000 on my bank account. It says it right here on my cell phone. Look, everybody look at your cell phones right now. Everybody.
Hey, is it for real?
I don't know. Is this happening? I don't know. I can't tell.
Did you do this?
How could we, Art? We don't have your password. We'd need access to information we could never get our hands on.
Yes, security questions, for instance, like, I don't know, your mother's maiden name or the name of your first pet.
Where would we get that information, Art? You certainly would never tell us.
We got confirmation. It's really happening. They robbed him.
Do not let them get away.
Hey, we left you the jet and the rolls.